Hi, my name is Doug Hodum. I was an Einstein Fellow in the year 2016 to 2017, and I was a legislative fellow working in Representative Mike Honda's office from September until December, and then after he left office, I moved into the House Committee on Education and the Workforce, working for the minority staff on primarily K-12 topics. I worked initially as the education LA for Mr. Honda. That was something that he had used Einstein Fellows for in the past. And then when I shifted over, I was looking primarily at school choice and investigating a little bit about Betsy DeVos, the secretary, and then just sort of being a team player and helping out with whatever they needed, whether it was preparations for hearings or questions for witnesses, things along those lines. I think for me, a couple things that really helped me as I look at that experience. One is it just reminded me that learning is hard. You know, they say on Capitol Hill that the learning curve is about 3 or 4 months, and I went through that twice with 2 different offices. And as a teacher, it's good for me to remember that it is hard and that learning can be stressful. And it reminded me of something. I've been in a classroom for a while, and I'm learning every day, but not in such an intense way as the students do. And so I think for me, that was one major lesson. And then also, it helps me appreciate the things that I do here in my district. I have a much clearer and more recent understanding of how the federal government works or doesn't work, and sort of what those challenges are and the role that legislation plays. And also just to get a sense of sort of what it's like on Capitol Hill again. I hadn't been there and worked there for a while. So as far as science education goes, you know, I think the federal government plays a role in that, certainly setting sort of a benchmark and providing a spotlight for it. But so little federal money seems to come specifically to that. And so I think if it was a real imperative notion that the federal government had, in both branches, the executive and the legislative branch, I think then it could play a huge role if there was a way of continuing the focus that some of the groups are doing to try to encourage people to work in the field of science education. I certainly have a much better understanding just of the differences in parties and the philosophies of both of them. That was a major learning piece for me, even though I'd been moderately politically savvy or aware. And I think as far as other opportunities, you know, the fellowship was wonderful professionally for me, just to meet a cohort of amazing people. And that network of mine has grown significantly through past fellows, also through the current cohort that I was a part of. And I also think that it's opened doors for me with organizations. So I had an opportunity to do some work with ASCD, and that was largely due to the fact that I was an Einstein Fellow and I got to meet people face to face as opposed to just virtually, which I'd had relationships with before. And I think it just opens doors, and people who are in the science education world are aware of it. And it just may provide other opportunities moving forward. I know it's a great talking point to have with people, if nothing else. So it was an amazing experience. I'm grateful for having been given that opportunity, and I'm also incredibly happy to be back as a science educator here in Maine.